Hello, everybody, and welcome to this free webinar, How to Prioritize Mobile Marketing Initiatives for Quick Service Restaurants. I'm QSR Web and Pizza Marketplace editor Shelley Whitehead, and delighted that you've joined us to learn more about this essential topic for really all restaurant brands, but particularly for QSRs, which can really help themselves by digitally amping up relationships with their consumers. Why, of course? We know the reason for that, because well-connected customers are more frequent customers. And particularly in these pandemic-stricken days, mobile marketing is the way to most customers' hungry hearts. To help us learn more about the latest, best, and greatest mobile marketing customer engagement strategies, we have with us today Craig Herbertson, CEO of NextGen CRM solution Plexure, and joining Craig is Plexure Head of Marketing, Colin Daymude. And these two pros are going to take it away in just 2 seconds, right after I remind our audience not to be shy and type in the questions you have for this pair during the presentation as you think of them, and we'll get them all answered in about 40 minutes before we have to leave for the afternoon. But that's not now. So please welcome our guests, Craig Herbertson and Colin Daymude.
Thank you very much, Shelley. And again, I appreciate everyone for showing up this afternoon. I think we've got some great information to share, and hopefully we can get some great questions from the audience as well. So I'd like to start by setting the tone for this webinar. We're talking about how to prioritize mobile marketing initiatives, but I want to be clear that this is not a COVID story. And digital transformation has been in play for years, and mobile's at the forefront, especially for QSRs. And COVID just accelerated the need for that transformation and prioritized it over just about any other initiative. In the digital age, experience is the new differentiator, and technology is the enabler of that enhanced experience. And COVID has definitely separated the men from the boys. Companies like McDonald's, Starbucks, Domino's, they were leading with mobile solutions well before COVID hit. In fact, mobile solutions are the most important customer engagement solution for QSR since I think the widespread adoption of the drive-through. That's kind of the last massive innovation that took QSR to the next level. But even with companies like Chipotle, who are opening 100% digital experiences they just announced this week, they know that model will only work in urban areas, and everywhere else, people still want to come and have the option to sit down, enjoy a meal. But just because you have a dining room doesn't mean you need a human cashier. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to give you a little bit of information about Plexure, just in case you don't know who we are, and in case you'd like to get in touch with us after the webinar. And then we're going to go through mobile marketing components and life cycle marketing and talk about specifically how to prioritize initiatives and technology if you're in the process of a digital transformation or want to be. And then we're going to talk about optimizing the customer journey with personalization and go through a couple of case studies on how we've helped QSRs transform digitally with mobile engagement. And then we'll talk about how you can get an assessment. We put together a mobile competitiveness assessment just for QSRs. So if you want to see where you stand against your competitors and what might be the next step, all we need is your company and who you are, and we can put together that assessment and schedule 20, 30 minutes to review that with you. So that's what we're going to go through today. And to get us started, let me introduce Craig Herbertson, CEO of Plexure again. He's a brilliant marketer in his own right, and there's nobody better who can tell you about Plexure than him. So Craig?
Hello, and hello everybody, and it's great to take this opportunity to speak to you today. Just a little bit about us, and thanks for that introduction, Colin. we'll cover a bit more detail, some of that ground that you've covered already. But Plecture is a global mobile engagement company. We promise is that we create sticky and profitable relationships with customers through giving them personalized and these compelling offers. And so we like to think that this is something that happens like magic for our customers. It's easy for them to create these magical moments. And for the end user, they receive these personalized and compelling offers without really having to do too much to receive that, other than possibly having downloaded one of our customers' apps. So increasingly today, we use the power of machines to generate what these offers look like. That in short, if you've got a mobile device and if you've downloaded one of our customers' apps, we know a lot about you. There's a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, a lot of data we have, and we use that knowledge to really understand we are on a buying journey and to create these compelling offers and incentives that's going to have you wanting to buy and enabling that purchase. So really the overall, we talk about, creating this experience, which is just personal to you, is one-to-one. So today, we have 220 million registered users on our platform in 62 countries around the world. Plecture, we are listed on the New Zealand and Australian stock exchanges. So we're down here in this part of the world. We've got offices around the world. But we're seeing a lot of growth for this proposition, as you might expect at this time, and certainly accelerated during COVID. So we are a Gartner recognized brand. We have a leadership position in a niche category. We are niche because we target grocery and QSR, and we work with enterprise customers. And here's a snapshot of the enterprise customers and brands that you may be familiar with in terms of McDonald's, Superindo, which is part of the Ahold Delhaize Group, which is a grocer in Indonesia, and White Castle in the US. So, we have a modular solutions toolkit that enables, this experience for our customers. And so I'll just step through a little bit about what these are and what they do. The core of what we do, yes, it's personalized offers. And then we have the machines which go to work across your data to work out really what those personalized offers need to be. That's all good, but you need the insights and analytics. We have an insights and analytics engine and dashboard, which can then tell you how these campaigns are operating. And we can also build loyalty programs. We have loyalty programs that effectively come out of the box, stamp card or points earn and burn. But really personalization is the new loyalty in terms of what we're seeing. And in terms of other sort of components or modules to the business, order and pay, increasingly important at the moment where people are needing to commerce at distance. So that's order, pay and fulfillment. That's being able to sit at home, order that food and walk to a particular place and pick it up curbside, drive through or have delivered. And in order to enable these experiences, we're a personalization platform company, but we're also able to build that front-end design, that app front-end experience as well, should that be needed. But a lot of what we do is really just putting our personalization and loyalty engine into what is your existing app environment. Now that's all good, but you also need that marketing strategy and CRM consulting to work out what sort of experience you want to create for our customers. And so we have teams for doing that. And then there's the customer data management. Whatever form that takes, that's a core part of what we do. We have marketing databases, which we can enable, or we can integrate into those you have. But of course, all this requires, and why it's enterprise, it requires high levels of systems integration, particularly around point of sale. We need to integrate with your point of sale because then we see what transactions look like or don't look like in this experience. So what we're seeing today is that the growth for our capabilities has really accelerated during COVID. And here's just a few numbers to sort of talk to that. So what we saw in 2017, and these are in billions, the mobile customer engagement platform industry was, in terms of value or volume of activity, with 4.4 billion. It's growing at a CAGR of 43%. By 23, we believe it'll be 38 billion. Loyalty management platforms, this is in the trillions. Now, these have been around for quite some time, but that's growing at a 20% CAGR. So from almost 2 trillion in 16 to what we see is 7 trillion in 23. And then mobile order and pay platforms. And again, huge CAGR leap here of 23%, 1.5 billion to 4.2 billion. And increasingly, this is what what customers are looking for to be able to enable those purchase at distance, which is obviously critical at the moment through COVID, and will be critical post-COVID as well, in terms of that behavior having shifted and effectively changed forever.
Thank you very much for telling us about Plexure. And now, if we'd like to get started with a poll, and we're going to put it up for 10 seconds. So try and get your answer in as quickly as possible, and we will show the results. But this first poll is: how would you rate your mobile digital maturity on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being world class? And again, we will put the results up right after everyone has had the opportunity to answer. Couple seconds left, and then we'll put the answers up. Okay, let's see how we look. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being world class, how would you rate your company's mobile digital maturity? So by far, about 38%, that was the biggest answer, was about a 5, right in the middle. And let's see if we've got nobody quite world class, but a couple that are close to it. A couple 6s, couple 7s, couple 8s, and a couple below the 5 that are just getting started. So I think that's a perfect representation of what we see in the market as well, which is why we put together this mobile assessment, so we can help you kind of gauge where you're at and where you might need to go from here. So great, thank you very much. We'll have one more poll throughout the webinar, but thanks everyone for answering that. And so let's get started with mobile marketing components and customer lifecycle marketing. Brands can drive specific outcomes through the entire customer journey, right from activation all the way through growth phase and to retain and win. And I think Steve Jobs said it best when he said, you start with the customer experience and work backwards towards the technology. And with QSR, consumers want the same thing. I think they want the same thing everywhere, but QSRs, it's exaggerated because by definition, it is quick service restaurants. They want fast, they want efficient, and they want no friction. So the best experience is the one with the path of least resistance, right? So QSRs are a destination-driven business built on a foundation of speed and efficiency. And so customers are naturally on their mobile devices almost exclusively. They don't have to nowadays. You can actually have last mile fulfillment by delivery, but most people are going through a drive-through, or they're coming into the restaurant, or they're picking up orders at a quick service restaurant. So it's mobile centric by definition. And mobile has the promise of providing a truly frictionless experience where a customer can order, pay, pick up fresh food on demand without ever experiencing or interacting with a human or standing in line. That's the promise of technology. And how you prioritize your mobile marketing initiatives is really dependent on 2 things: where your business is currently in terms of mobile digital maturity. And we've already seen about 38% of you are at a 5, so on a scale of 1 to 10. So you feel like you're right in the middle. You've got lots of opportunities to get from a 5 to a 10, to get to world class. And the other dependency is what your objectives are based on opportunities with existing KPIs. So where are you and where do you want to go? What's the mission for your organization? How quickly do you want to compete? How strongly do you want to compete in this digital world that is taking over situations like QSRs, which we we always thought of, prior to the digital world, we always thought of was such a personal experience. But from our experience, many companies don't know where to start because they lack the data that provides insights into where opportunities exist. And if that's you, the recommendation is to install a data layer with Analytics Engine. And if you currently have some data, companies like Plexure can import it to provide customer benchmarks in terms of visit frequency, average check, order preferences, et cetera. So there was an American Marketing Association survey that asked which factor limited the success of a company's mobile marketing activities. And the number one answer, and it was something around 42%, was difficulty tracking the customer across the journey. So that was number one, above and beyond anything else. So how do we track those data points across the entire customer journey? And how do we utilize those data points to make that customer journey a better experience for our customers? So just like autonomous vehicles and other digital transformation channels, this is a big data play. So having those tools at your disposal is critical to getting transparency along the entire customer life cycle. And we firmly believe, and our data shows it, that personalization can be used throughout the customer journey, whether it's activating a first-time customer, allowing for cross and upsell opportunities for habitual customers, or incentivizing the return of a lapsed customer. So I kind of wanted to go through this life cycle, and I think people are familiar with this, but you really have to conceptualize it to prioritize which initiatives you're going to put in place and where you're at in terms of the digital maturity. So are your objectives to activate more customers? Well, I would say that until you have a significant a number of tools in place, and we're going to talk about that next, that activating new customers acquiring new customers is probably not the best initiative. That if you get them in and you don't know how to give them the best experience, if you don't know how to provide personalized offers at scale to get them to repeat and then become a habitual shopper, then you're doing a churn and burn with your customers. If you already have a customer database, then you're ready to activate them with a new app, for example. But like every relationship, if you think about a personal relationship, you get to know each other more and what your likes and wants and dislikes are, and that's data collection, right? It's finding out what's important to somebody. And ultimately, the goal is to create a habitual shopper. But a habitual shopper, an ideal customer, if you don't have data collection, they can look very generic. And that's the opposite of personalization, to treat everyone the same. And that's what you want to get away from. One habitual customer could be once a month frequency. Another habitual customer could be every other day frequency. But without the data, without that transparency to their buying behaviors and their shopping habits, you just don't know. And so, typically most companies treat all customers exactly the same. And at some point, something could happen. The relationship starts to fall apart. And if you don't have mechanisms to understand when that frequency or that habitual shopping behavior starts to change, then it's almost impossible to react to it. And then you'll have dwindling happening. Someone comes less frequency, they're not as excited. Maybe they're excited about something else, something draws their attention away because you didn't keep up with what was important to that customer or what was important to your customer base. And at some point they can become inactive, and having the ability to, one, know that and then be able to react to it and win that customer back and bring them back up to the habitual shopper, that ideal customer is, that's really critical. So I want to go through that journey in the customer life cycle and kind of set that stage before we talk about the technical requirements to drive outcomes. and where that prioritization might look like for you. And I'm going to do another poll pretty soon to find out, what's stalling you, what's keeping you from getting from a 1 to a 5 or from a 5 to an 8 in terms of your digital maturity. What is it, part of your organization, your prioritization, or is it just know-how? What's getting in your way of moving from one place to another? And in the customer lifecycle and with QSRs, the bottom line is reducing friction, right, in the buying process. So starting out for QSR customers, it means having a user-friendly app. And it's not just for customer acquisition, but it's for existing customer activation, if you will. And some people consider that acquisition, some people consider it activation. It all depends on whether they were a customer in the first place, and you may or may not know. And so activation really needs to be considered the point of acquisition, because other than that, you didn't know, especially if you were utilizing, and you are utilizing heavily, third-party aggregators, because you don't own those customers. Unfortunately, the aggregator does. DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats, that marketplace owns your customer and the data. And so getting to a stronger point of digital maturity also means that you've got more control over the people who shop with you and all of the data that goes into needing to optimize the consumer experience. So it's just like, we rolled out mobile order and pay. And if you look at mobile order and pay, once you've got app design and development, then you can add personalized offers, push and banners once you get some data collection. And then mobile order pay is really, that's that next phase that we've learned by experience. We rolled out mobile order and pay to McDonald's Japan around January, just before COVID was really starting to become a pandemic, and we got record adoption. I think we have the #1 app in Asia, in that area. And we just got massive customer adoption and just blew away all of our objectives. And the consumers were ready for that. They were dying for it. They were like, hey, we want to come back. We want to shop with you, but we want to feel comfortable doing that. And so we want to be in control in where we place our order, how we pick it up. And we don't want to have to contact anybody. We don't want to have human interaction. So that was kind of that next phase, and everybody's in a different place. Whereas Ahold Delhaize subsidiary Superindo, they're a largest grocery chain in Indonesia. They were at the very beginning. Some of you that answered 1, 2, 3 in terms of your digital maturity, that's where Superindo was. And so they didn't even have an app. So app design and that user interface is incredibly important. It's not, you don't just go out and develop an app on your own. You've got to have a strategy and a very defined roadmap to what you're trying to accomplish with that app. And that's what we did with Superindo. So they were kind of in their infancy, and now taking the next step towards personalization, and then eventually to order or pay, and then to loyalty programs is really at the top of that peak, if you will, in terms of what we're trying to achieve with customer loyalty, right? The habitual customer that comes back over and over. Those loyalty programs are at the basis of not only data collection for all the customer points that we need to know to react to a customer, provide them with the right personalized offers with the right media, but also reward them and keep that relationship strong. Back to a personal relationship, we do a lot in the dating process, right? To get someone intrigued and put our best foot forward. And that's kind of like marketing as well. We'll send lots and lots of digital ads. In fact, I think mobile marketing spend, the top The top channel is still social media ads at about 25%. And so we're constantly pushing ads out and messages out to try and attract that customer. But once we've got them, we need to put just as much effort into loyalty programs and keeping them and paying attention to them, so we know how to respond to that person as an individual, treating one customer like their shopping experience was built just for them. And that's where loyalty programs can come in. And I know all of these technical requirements are somewhat high level. We can get very granular when we talk one-on-one. But at its essence, loyalty programs is where you start really developing those relationships strong. It's where, people get those endorphins because they get, they get points, they get rewards, they're felt appreciated. That's when validation occurs. That's when, people really feel a connection with an organization, like it's a one-to-one experience. But regardless of what happens, relationships can start to sour. And knowing why and knowing when is critical. So having a feedback mechanism is kind of in this next stage is also critical to incorporate in your mobile strategy. So why is someone following off? They used to come once every 3 weeks. They used to order, on average $12 every time they came, but now it's down to $6 and they only come, once every 4 or 5 weeks. What's the difference? What's that gap between, the used to experience and the current experience? And what can I do to get them back on track to be a habitual user and get that average checkup and make sure they feel rewarded for being a customer? And that's really where AI and machine learning comes in. So at this point in the journey, you want to utilize recommendations from AI and machine learning to then provide more personalized offers, push banners, etc. And then follow along with analytics and insights, and then more personalized offers. But ultimately, there are lots of little lines that go from that AI and machine learning. When people start to fall off and the relationship's not as strong as it used to be, you need to be able to react at any point along that entire spectrum to find out how to react and what to react with based on not only purchase history, individual personal history, but also contextual data is important as well. So even though I like hot chocolate, might not be best to serve that up in the middle of the summer in Arizona. So that contextual data is incredibly important as well. So like all businesses that hope for digital maturity, this is a data-driven exercise. Without the data, without the ability to collect, interpret, react to multiple data points, using multiple media and channel engagements is critical to providing consumers with that frictionless experience that they crave. And so we got a question from the group. Somebody asked, and that was, how much budget should be allocated to mobile initiatives? And well, there was the February CMO 2020 CMO spend survey, which was actually surveyed in January. So put it in context, it's just before really the pandemic was global, worldwide. And so it was before that, so people weren't really in full COVID mode. And the CMO spend survey showed a 321% increase, which is huge, to 13.5% of marketing budgets over the 2015 survey. So that is again, 13.5% of marketing budgets were allocated to mobile, okay? And then when you look at retail, that was all industries, but when you break it down, you get more granular, you look at retail, those consumer experiences, that percentage was higher. It was way higher. It was closer to 20%. So think if you're a $500 million company and your total marketing budget average is about 10%, and that's straight from Gartner's CMO spend survey. The average is about 10%. And there's not a lot of fluctuations between different industries, actually. Some are 8, some are 12, average about 10. So overall marketing budget is 10% of revenue. So that means you're a $500 million company, you've got $50 million in total marketing budget. And so the amount allocated to mobile specifically has gone up from about 3% to 13.5%. And it's much higher amongst retail consumer services at 20%. So that means of your $50 million budget, you should allocate about $10 million just to mobile, if you're about a $500 million company. So that's what all the surveys are telling us. And if you break that down further, you know, I started with app design, right? You can't activate a customer without an app on mobile, not very effectively anyway. So if you break that budget down further, app development is actually allotted about 10% of total marketing, mobile marketing budget. So, and then 18% is allocated to user experience. So those are, you know, you think about those dollar amounts, that's $1 million just dedicated to app development, and another 18% to user experience of that $10 million mobile marketing budget. And so the largest expenditure, and I already mentioned it, is actually social media ads at about 25%. That may be a little different for QSRs, but we're still trying to do everything we can to compete and attract customers with ads and pushing out coupons in omnichannel experiences and through multimedia. So if you don't have an app, it's a good place to start. Obviously, don't spend money on acquisition versus improving the customer experience. If you've already got a great app, obviously, and a lot of these tools in place, then focus on the customer experience. You know, personally, I don't carry a wallet anymore, but I've just now adopted mobile wallet, and I love, you know, NFC near field communication, where I can just put my phone up to a terminal, and I can pay immediately, and that eliminates a massive amount of friction because I don't personally like to carry a wallet. So anyway, those are the technical requirements, and somewhat in priority order as you go through the customer journey. And we've got some more questions, and so let me see. I think they were answered. Craig's answering. Let's see. So I think they're getting answered as we go. So if you've got any Q&A, please drop them into the Q&A, and we will either answer them live or we'll answer them one-on-one in the Q&A.
I can help you with some of those questions that have come. Do you want to take some of them now or wait and finish with the presentation, Colin?
Yeah, so Craig, you want to, I think you started answering some of them. You want to take a couple of those?
Yeah, I mean, I've answered sort of directly, you know, to Lindsay on a couple of questions. There's a bit more investigation to understand the question behind the question, but perhaps we could get through the last piece of the slides, Colin. You will get to see the full story, and then we can round out the questions then. What do you think? Yeah,
no, that's a great idea. So I wanted to, you know, next I want to talk about personalization. Now, personalization can be used to facilitate next generational engagement regardless of a brand's digital maturity. So let's say you're just starting out and you've just installed an app and you get killer adoption, and you get 75% of people offered this. You offer them a $5 coupon to download the app or whatever it might be for acquisition. and everybody takes you up on it. Once people start utilizing that app, you can immediately start to incorporate personalization. So I wanted to show you what an example, kind of a high level of what crawl, walk, run would look like from a personalization standpoint, because through the entire customer lifecycle, that entire journey, personalization gets overlaid through that entire engagement experience. So from every stage, personalization based on consumer preference is exactly what they want, what they desire, and it's what we expect, right? In a personal relationship, we want someone to know us. We want someone to know us well enough to be able to offer us what we like, what we're used to, what we appreciate. So kind of a crawl situation in the beginning is to present uncurated mass offers, right? You just send mass offers and treat everyone very similar, but you can still send offers. And you communicate via mass media channels, digital, traditional, print, omni-channel. And so the next stage is go from uncurated to curated mass offers based on, you've got some consumer historical purchase data. And within that app, you can curate offers based on consumers' historical purchases and their product preferences. And then taking it to the next level is creating truly deeply personalized offers. So you want to profile target users for a campaign that is truly personalized just for them based on their propensity to buy, and maybe where they're at in that entire customer journey, based on their existing purchase history. And also utilizing location data to send push notification to a customer. So that's a convenience personalization effort. If you think about it, I'm close by, we can use beacons, we can use near frequency. So we can use a lot of tools to send push notifications based on proximity, but also sending personalized, compelling offers to target users at scale, alongside fewer curated mass offers. So that's kind of a crawl, walk, run for deeply personalized offers as a start. And so if you think about taking personalization to the next level, I want to show you from a QSR perspective what optimizing that journey might look like. And so here we have a bird's eye view to show some of the possible points of engagement specific to a QSR customer. So the customer is at home or they're nearby. This is your quick service restaurant right here. And Plexure identifies a customer's location and formulates the right offer at the right time to influence a purchase. It may be even customer acquisition. Push notification is sent via the mobile app. And then the customer arrives. We can utilize location data to identify their arrival for either notifications for offers or for order pickup, or to start order. So all of this, again, is integrated with restaurant systems in total, including the operations systems. When orders are placed, so from an operational efficiency standpoint, that's one of those granular items that we're not really touching on. It's beyond the scope of this webinar, but think about personalization and mobile engagement in those terms as well. So the customer redeems an offer at the POS via mobile app. They can utilize a kiosk. They can use their mobile. An option that is truly geared towards a consumer's preference and what their comfort level is during COVID. And after COVID, it's strictly going to be who can provide the best experience with the least amount of friction. So Plexure starts gathering behavioral and activity data based on against the consumer profile. And then we update that profile with purchase data to optimize future product offers. It could be a bounce back, it could be BOGO, it could be something a little bit more personalized than that. It could be bring a friend, it could be a referral mechanism or points mechanism, churn and burn or a card. It could be, again, we can get very granular with these things. We want to have a discussion outside the webinar. So once we've gathered that behavioral and activity data, we can match that against the consumer profile. Then the customer orders and pays. They can do it outside, in a parking space. They can request at their leisure, at their desire, whether they want to come in the store, whether they want to go through the drive-through, whether they want to get curbside pickup, et cetera. So that's a little bit how personalization looks from a bird's eye view in the QSR journey. And so I want to turn it over to Craig now, back to Craig and let him walk you through what a personalization module would look like from that consumer perspective, what they're actually seeing.
Okay, thanks, Colin. So I'll speed this up a bit because we do want to get to the questions, and I also want to get to some of the case studies so people can see the sort of performance they can expect. But really what this shows in a very visual way is, you've got two particular customers here within their own, I guess, identified segments or purchase behavior. The start of that is the notification, which puts in their hands, what is a deal or some sort of experience that they can expect. And we send 750 million of those a month out to those, 220 odd million customers we have on the platform. So that's the start of that journey. And then I guess what is then built within the deals section within this app or the incentive section is then what is individual to that customer, based on things which Colin has talked to of their individual purchase history, what they've bought, what they haven't bought, where they might be, the time of day, their preferences, events that are nearby, all those sorts of things, lots and lots of data that can really help us define and refine what is the sort of incentive for that particular individual, which is going to have them coming into your environment and buying more. So then, so there was a question around, is this something you can build in-house? The Plexure solution is a marketing automation suite that is actually put in your hands. We train you and we help you do it, but it is not an outsourced solution. It is your solution. It starts with sort of Plexure campaigns. This is where your marketers, or you can come in and you can construct these campaigns to send out to customers by identifying the customers or the segments or the offer. So really building that. That is then sent out either into the app for that customer using notifications to stimulate that interest. And then there's the analytics side, which is the dashboard, which will tell you in near real time what is actually going on with these campaigns, so you can further refine and change those campaigns. So it's important that this is a marketing automation suite, which enables this sort of experience.
Yeah, Craig, did you have another question right now, or do you want to jump into the poll?
Oh, we can jump into the poll, Colin. Yep.
Okay. So what is your biggest challenge? What do you see in terms of advancing your mobile engagement strategy? We've got some options on here, but I think you have to pick one. And so what's the top challenge that you have in advancing your mobile engagement strategy? So we'll give you about 10 seconds for this poll. Okay, so let's see where the biggest challenges are. So lack of budget, interesting. So if you want some of those data points that I was talking about earlier in terms of what traditional marketing spend is and allocation based on surveys from Gartner and from the American Marketing Association, shoot me your contact information. We'll send an email out after this if you'd like my contact information or Craig's contact information. And I'd be happy to help you justify improving that budget so you can be competitive in your digital transformation. So that was by far lack of budget, 38%. Interesting. And I wonder if that's, if that's a change in that's reallocation, or you're looking for more budget, or how much people are reallocating their existing budget to mobile. So the second, we had 3 people who answered don't know where to start or where to prioritize. And that's what we're talking about today. Again, we're happy to get more granular with you. If you contact us after the webinar. Systems integration, IT related, that's actually one of the easiest ones to overcome. We have APIs for just about any type of integration, whether it's POS, CRM, et cetera. And then proving ROI, that's a tough one as well. A lot of it's based on faith, but also looking at the winners and losers through COVID, because some companies were prepared and they did win through COVID, and they will emerge through COVID as because of that acceleration and digital transformation as real winners. So thank you very much for everyone participating in that. So now I'd like Craig to walk through some case studies, and this may help you with some of those ROI questions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we do appreciate that, the transference of marketing spend from other things to this area can be difficult in organizations where a business case needs to be built. And so we certainly appreciate that budget constraints happen and ROI calculations need to be done. So hopefully in these 3 case studies that we have here, it'll give you a feel for the sort of the uplift and opportunity you have that can start those conversations internally, and of course with us later on, should that be something you'd like to step into. So if we talk about a transformation of a global QSR brand in this space, 60 countries, and this is interesting because this is one app which powers 60 countries. So rather than building an app by region or by state or by country, we deployed one app which actually serves all of those countries. So it's a multi-tenanted experience, which means it's a very efficient way for them to engage in a very same way around the world and get that data as well, if that's something which is of interest. So you've had 210 million registered users on that platform alone, 41 million daily customers active. So that's got quite a bit of scale, as you can imagine. And talking to that, how that's been architected, this means that we can roll out a new market or a new region within 4 to 6 weeks. And then through those tools that I talked to in terms of marketing automation, marketers are able to launch a campaign within 30 minutes. So that is a real speed of execution, which hopefully lowers the barrier to people sort of adopting this technology. And I guess the proof of all this ultimately is in the fact that these apps then become consistently ranked #1 in the countries they are around the world. But importantly, in terms of those business cases, the incremental guest count of 32% across that full suite and a 40% incremental sales lift.
There's some ROI.
Yeah. This is one specific more to the grocery category, but nevertheless the same to QSR, which is a customer who was using blanket or mass offers to drive and stimulate sales. And the challenge with that, of course, is that you're giving margin away to customers who might otherwise already buy, or it's actually not really going to, there might be some pricing elasticity there where you could actually offer them a less of an incentive. In any event, we worked with them and identified only those customers that we needed to give an incentive to drive that foot traffic and sales. And in terms of the results, they had a 9% increase in their sales revenue and a 22% increase in their guest count. So again, this is, you can either do this through data scientists or increasingly through the machines and AI predicting and building algorithms that create these offers. But it absolutely is proven to provide very strong uplift in a very short space of time, with control groups, of course, to prove out the case. So we have another one here, which is really just to show that Plectria can be used in itself as a campaign tool. Yes, there's ongoing engagement through customer lifecycle with customers, the sort of performance you can get by just using a campaign or a seasonal campaign. Again, this is a multi-market execution around a Christmas period using gamification with a particular deal every day to drive that engagement and excitement for those customers. Again, 22 markets, 11 million active users. I guess billion requests on our platform, 100% availability. That just talks to really the scalability and reliability of our technology. But I think, so again, cutting to the chase, was a lot of engagement, but really sales results, 70% increase in average spend and a 64% increase in the coupon sales, which were driven through that app. So again, using the campaign tool just for this gamification and one-off campaigns over a period of time can in its end of itself create quite significant uplift.
Yeah, that's gamification is one of those great granular elements that, it's beyond the scope of the webinar, but we'd be happy to explore some of those additional options to personalize a campaign and make it more engaging outside the webinar.
Okay, and then I guess, so we've talked about today about using push notifications to drive people into stores, core understanding of a customer in terms of personalization, lots of data to find out what is the incentive that's going to get them to buy and come back more. And then I guess the end part of that is the mobile order and pay, which gives them the ability to do all of that at distance, to sit at home, have this experience to go on and pick up, and we know when they're turning up because of location services, or drive or through delivery. So again, we launched this 2,700 restaurants, and what you'll see in terms of the results of mobile order and pay, and this was done pre-COVID, but of course COVID has accelerated this sort of e-commerce or mobile commerce at distance. But again, we have 20 million monthly active users on this platform. The app is consistently trending in the 1 to 3 top apps within that country. And amongst that, you've got all those big aggregators and all those other apps. So it proves out to one of those questions that someone had, can you compete with aggregators with your own app, your own brand experience? Yes, you absolutely can. And what you'll see here in terms of the actual sales contribution, 11% versus the front counter. So the mobile gateway, if you like, in terms of payment, ordering and fulfillment is absolutely proving itself as a strong contributor in terms of uplifting performance here across those 2,700 restaurants.
Those are very compelling, and I think right in line with some of the challenges that people are having and trying to advance their mobile initiatives. And Craig, are there any other questions that came up that we still needed to answer, or did we catch everything?
There's a question from Steve around what size of market do we focus on. This is an enterprise level solution. We focus on more the number of customers you have or likely to have on the platform. It is a marketing automation suite that you effectively run yourself, but we can have a conversation after this to work out whether there's a right fit in terms of the size of market we might work with and what would make sense in terms of building an ROI for the deployment.
Yep. Okay, great. Is that it for the questions? I think any more?
There was a question around competitive companies, Moment, Feed, and Paytronix. The answer is we don't really compete head to head with those.
Yeah, we would integrate with those, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to thank everyone, and last but not least, again, if you want to get more granular, find out where you really fit in terms of your mobile competitiveness, we have an assessment, and we don't really need any information from you other than who you are and what your company is, and let us do the work behind the scenes, and we'll put together about a 20 to 30 minute assessment that we'll review with you. So we found it very helpful to help people and organizations prioritize their next step in terms of their driving their mobile engagement, their mobile competitiveness forward, so they can get that digital transformation. So that's, if you could just go to www.plexure.com/mobile-competitiveness, and we'll also send out everyone an email, so don't worry about writing it down. But if you'd like to, if you are a QSR, quick service restaurant, and you'd like us to take you through that assessment, then we are happy to do that. And I hope we've been of value to everyone. Love to take any questions via email when we send something out to you. I think we're just about at time now. So I'm gonna give it back to Shelley.
Yes, sir. We are just about. So we will wrap things up, and a reminder to everybody to watch your email, because coming in the next probably day or so is the on-demand version of this webinar. So you will have that right there for you to review. But until then, We wish all of you a very happy rest of the day, a very profitable one. Bye now.